that's it. Some versions of Pirate Warrior were running Bash, but Bash can easily be replaced with other cards. So, good news, if you're a Pirate Warrior player, you're going to be able to continue hitting the face. So this is actually very concerning. And I wanted to start off with this concerning note. It would be pretty bad for the game if Standard rotated out 3 sets and the most powerful decks of Standard right now continue to be the most powerful decks. Why is that bad? One, it means that the rotation didn't really do much because most popular decks continue to be the most popular decks. We continue to get oppressed by aggro decks that just keep hitting in the face. People didn't really enjoy that. Yes, they got hit a little bit with Small Time Buccaneer, but maybe they should get hit a little bit more. And as a spoiler, the Jade decks are the very popular decks right now too. If those decks are still around, and if it's still like Pirates versus Jades after ungoro, is that going to be good? Well, hopefully we get a lot of tools from ungoro. That's going to be a major thing. The Pirate Warrior win rate is already so high, and if we rotated out so many tools from other decks, how is the Pirate Warrior not going to just do even better? So, Pirate Warrior. So, I begin with a very concerning note. It appears that Pirate Warrior, a very popular deck, is not losing much. Next up on the popularity scale, we look at Jade Druid. Jade Druid loses a little bit of stuff. They lose Living Roots. That was a 2 of. And they lose Mulch. Usually a 1 or 2 of. And that's it. So the other concern is right there. What if Pirate Warrior continues to be the strongest aggro deck? What if Jade Druid continues to be the deck that has the best late game? We're going to just continue to see Pirates versus Jades instead of Pirates versus Kazakus or Pirates versus Rena. Will there be more tools coming out from ungoro to deal with aggro while at the same time not losing the late game to Jade? One of the big things they do lose is Bran. Yes, I forgot to mention Bran. I should mention that Bran is not in every single Jade deck from Druid because it might be a little too greedy to run it. But yes, it's in most. And I did forget about Azure Drake, which is rotating out into the Hall of Fame. So they lose Bran, which arguably isn't that big a loss. They lose Azure Drake, which is a big loss. So they're going to need something to keep up the card draw. Card draw, one of the things that Jade Druids really needed at the end. Bran Bronzebeard, more of a loss in the next deck in popularity. Jade Shaman. Why is it more of an impact in Jade Shaman and less of an impact in Jade Druid? It's because Jade Shaman has cheaper cards to trigger the Bran Bronzebeard with. They have a 2-drop that has a Battle Cry, which summons a Jade, and Jade Claws. So what does Jade Shaman lose? Jade Shaman loses technically a decent amount. They lose their early game of Tunnel Trog and Totem Golem. They also lose Healing Wave if they were aiming against aggro. However, and they lose Azure Drake. which was just a nice general draw card. But all control decks are losing Azure Drake, so they're all going to go down by about the same. And perhaps the good news of decks losing Azure Drake is Azure Drake is just a card that's good against mid-range and control. So if all mid-range and control decks lose Azure Drake, that actually makes them generally better against aggro. So that's an interesting thing, an interesting interaction that happens out. So Jade Shaman's biggest losses end up being Totem Golem and... Well, no, I'm not even going to say it's going to be Totem Golem and Tunnel Trog. They're going to replace Totem Golem and Tunnel Trog with a more control-oriented option, such as Volcano, the only card we really know that's a control option from the next set, or perhaps more realistically and more relevantly from now, they're just going to replace it with Devolve. Devolve, Feral Spirit, those cards can replace. They already have Jinyu Water Speaker, so Healing Wave was not really required. So you just need to get a few pickups here and there from ungoro. So far, all three of those decks look like they're going to. Not only are they the most popular decks right now, they look like they're going to survive into Standard. Now we're going to move into the next most popular deck, according to people who play these at a higher rank. Reno Lock. A lot of people have continued to ask me the same question. Are Reno decks going to survive when Reno rotates out? And my answer remains the same. They might survive if there's a card printed that is similar to Reno in the sense that if your deck has no duplicates, do something amazing. If decks don't get that, they're not going to survive with the loss of Reno Jackson and with the loss of Bran Bronzebeard, and across Reno Lock with the loss of various one-ofs such as Dark Peddler, Demon Wrath, Imp Gang Boss, Emperor Thorsan, Refreshment Vendor, but again, most importantly, Reno Jackson and Bran Bronzebeard, since you can no longer get a second copy with Kazakis, Reno Lock is not going to be in a good spot. I predict that there won't be a duplicate beneficial card in the new set because it just makes so much sense to have Reno phase out for a little bit and come back later in the year. So Reno Lock is basically dead. Maybe a Control Warlock will take its place. Zoo looks like it might still be around. We'll get to Zoo later, though. Next on the list is Dragon Priest. How is Dragon Priest gonna do? I've already spoiled that it won't do too well, but between losing Blackwing Corruptor and Twilight Whelp and Wormrest Agent and Twilight Guardian, 4 very key cards, and all two ofs in Dragon Priest, they're not going to have a good time. They also lose Bran Bronzebeard. They also lose Azure Drake. However, it is worth mentioning that with the removal of a lot of dragons, Nether Spite Historian is still in there, and Draconid Operative is still in there. So this traditional Dragon Priest is obviously going to be gone. But when you look into how many dragons are left in Standard afterwards, so there's Fairy Dragon, there's Twilight Dragon, There's Midnight Drake. I'm like literally listing all of the dragon cards that still remain. Fairy Dragon 1, Midnight Drake 2, Twilight Drake 3, Bookworm 4, Skilled Nightmare 5, Magus Concerted out, Alexstrasza 6, Nosdormu 7, Onyxia 8, Ysera 9, Deathwing 10, Deathwing 11. There's not a lot of dragons left, and that actually makes Netherspite Historian a lot better, because the only priest dragon card is going to be Drachnid Operative. Oh, I missed Malagus as well. So 12. Did I miss anything else? So 12 dragons. It is going to be tough to activate your Drachnid Operative. However, and it's going to be a little bit tougher to do Netherspite Historian. However, if you do play Netherspite Historian, with so many fewer dragons out there, the chances of getting Drachnid Operative are way higher. And you're almost always going to get a big dragon. You'll get Ysera a lot more often, you'll get Deathwing, you'll get the other Deathwing. So if there are viable dragon cards printed in Ungoro, which it doesn't seem like there will be, because how can you fit those in between elementals and beasts? I think it's fair to say that Dragon Priest is on a hiatus and loses quite a lot and won't be playable unless there's serious dragon synergy in the future. Next on the list is Reno Mage. Reno Mage loses Emperor Thorsan, and similar to Priest, the big things that they lose, I'll just look at that. The most impactful things off the bat: brand Bronzebeard, no longer can they brand Kazakis. They can't even brand Kazakis Manic Soulcaster for the potential to get 4. They lose Reno Jackson. I could go on, but they lose Forgotten Torch, they lose Ethereal Conjurer, which is run sometimes, they lose Arcane Blast. All in all, the biggest loss is Reno, the big man himself. It doesn't seem like there's going to be much of a reason to play Reno Mage. There's still Kazakis, but I don't think that itself is enough by himself to carry the Reno theme. Possibly there will be a Control Mage out there, though. Grinder Mages have existed in the past. But Reno Mage, as you know it, will probably disappear. Next most popular on the list is Miracle Rogue. Miracle Rogue actually doesn't lose that much, with the notable exception of Tomb Pillager, one of the best cards in Miracle Rogue. And also Azure Drake, which was one of the ways that they got card draw and were able to cycle into the Auctioneer. When I say they don't lose that much, I guess I should say in terms of cards, they don't lose that much. However, in terms of card quality, losing Azure Drake, probably for the best in Rogue, because they had Preparation Phantom Knives, they had Backstab, they had Eviscerate, so many spells. They were actually one of the classes that took advantage of Azure Drake's spell damage the most. And Tomb Pillager was the card that let them be aggressive. Oh, and Conceal. Conceal is a big one. Miracle Rogue, as you know it, is going to probably get out of there. Emperor Thorsan is lost in case you wanted to play the Malagus version as well. So that's pretty tough. So RIP Miracle Rogue. Reno Priest, similar to Reno Mage and Reno Warlock, are they're losing Reno. Unlike Reno Mage, though, unlike Reno Warlock, which doesn't have the Cruel And unlike Reno Mage, where, yeah, Solia is nice, but meh, Raza is actually pretty good. Raza the Chained has the potential to carry Reno even without Reno. And also in Priest, he didn't need the heal as much. Maybe a Reno without Reno, Priest still survives. However, I used to build the Reno Priest deck around the Dragon package. I guess you could replace the Dragon package with something else. Reno Priest will need a serious retooling, but possibly could survive. Next up, a very new deck to enter the scene, Water Rogue. Water Rogue uses Finja, and by the way, Finja and the Finja package, which is Murloc, Finja, Murloc War Leader, as well as... Why doesn't Bluegill Warrior show up? Oh, it's because it's on the other page. Bluegill Warrior. Expect to see this package run in quite a few decks. Popularized when Small Time Buccaneer got nerfed and people had to look for other ways to do insane stuff. Turns out that Bluegill Warrior, Murloc War Leader, and Finja, they're all staying. The Aggro Rogue deck actually doesn't lose that much and will still be around. It activates patches with the Swashbucklers and South Sea Deckhands, which are still standard. And what it does lose is Argent Horse Rider, sometimes Run. It loses Azure Drake. Occasionally, Dark Iron Skulker actually made it into that deck from Blackrock Mountain. But with some retooling around and perhaps being more aggressive, you could see Water Rogue still be good. Next most popular on the list is Zoo. Good old Zoo. Zoo makes a slight comeback due to Small Time Buccaneer getting nerfed. They're getting hit hard with Imp Gang Boss's removal. One of the best cards in Zoo. One of the cards you might have kept on 3 just because it was so powerful. They're losing Power Overwhelming, which was a very beneficial card for them, and they're losing Dark Peddler, and they're also losing the ability for Dark Peddler to discover Power Overwhelming, which is nice, but it doesn't really matter that much. They still get the discard thing going for them between Soulfire, getting the Knight? What was that called? No. Dish? The furniture. They still have the Silverware Golem alongside with the Malkazar's Imp for this discard theme. They still have Darkshire Librarian. So Zoo will probably survive. There will probably be other efficient cards. Imp Gang Boss and Dark Peddler is a loss, but they could find stuff to replace it. And Power Overwhelming is a big loss, but perhaps they'll find something to replace that as well. Power Overwhelming being an extremely powerful card to basically have 1 mana deal 4 damage. Zoo's gone through a lot. People say it always works, and that's true as long as there's cheap cards and there's life tap, there will be Zoo. It just got overshadowed by Small Time Buccaneer for a while, but Small Time Buccaneer got nerfed. Zoo is actually a valid deck right now, and it should be should continue to be a valid deck in the future. Next up, in terms of popularity of decks played competitively, is Dragon Warrior. Dragon Warrior loses quite a lot in terms of neutrals. They lose Draconid Crusher, they lose Blackwing Corruptor, the reason to actually run Dragon Warrior. I don't really have to go on from here. Dragon Warrior will get replaced by Pirate Warrior. Or perhaps Elemental Warrior, or Beast Warrior, whatever happens to be ungoro's next thing. And they lose the big one. They lose Alexstrasza's Champion. With Alexstrasza's Champion, Blackwing Corruptor gone, there's no way you run Dragon Warrior. And I've mentioned this like 2 other times already, but Twilight Guardian, that's a good dragon. Which they don't have anymore. And Dragon Warrior was kind of one of the reasons to run Dragon Warrior was actually Twilight Guardian as well, which protected your face against these mean old pirates. Tempo Mage is a card. Tempo Mage, another deck that I'll talk about, rising up in popularity, especially due to the nerf of Small Time Buccaneer and Spirit Claws. They lose Arcane Blast, which is a big deal. Early game, cheap spells combined with Sorcerer's Apprentice was huge for Arcane Blast. It was kind of their version of Backstab. Whoa. Thanks, Hearthstone, for letting me know that the global games are coming. I'm still salty about not getting invited. Anyways, let me say that again since I was interrupted. Tempo Mage loses Arcane Blast, which is a big deal for them because Sorcerer's Apprentice plus Arcane Blast was their version of a Tempo Backstab, which is a really good card. Perhaps more concerning than Arcane Blast, though, is they lose Flame Waker. Flame Waker, the card combined with all these cheap spells, which really allowed them to do insane things. They also lose Forgotten Torch, which is not in every single Tempo Mage deck, and that isn't too big a loss, but they lose that. And finally, they lose Azure Drake, which was a card they needed for the spell damage, actually, with the Arcane Blast, with the Arcane Missiles, with the spells in general, Frostbolt, and so they're losing those cards. Control Mage might still stick around, and Tempo Mage kind of changes to Control Mage every so often since they run Firelands Portal and Flame Strike. They're gonna need more card draw though. They can still get a lot of card draw with Acolyte of Pain and with Arcane Intellect. They lose Flame Waker, which is the big one. The aggressive version of Tempo Mage will have to get a serious retooling. Let's see, what else? Honorable mentions. Why do you want to hang out here so much? Honorable mentions, Malygos Druid decks lose Living Roots and they lose Emperor Thaurissan, so that's going to kill it. In fact, most decks which ran Malygos as a win condition are going to get destroyed by the loss of Emperor Thaurissan. Emperor Thaurissan, a key way to actually play Malygos and then play their multiple spells, be the Sinister Strike, or Living Roots, or cheap spells in general, Moonfire, etc. You can still do Malygos, Moonfire, but that's doubtfully good enough. Oh, what else was that critical card removed? Aviana is rotating out, which means Kun Aviana combo decks are no longer there. Sad day. Let's see, honorable mentions for other honorable mentions for decks that, for kind of fringy decks. Freeze Mage is losing Ice Lance, which is huge. I don't think Freeze Mage will be around after the Ice Lance nerf, but they also lose Forgotten Torch. Also, importantly, they lose Emperor Thorsan. Anyfin Paladin loses Anyfin, so that's gone. Control Warrior didn't absolutely need just a card True Heart in order to survive the late game. They did it before just a card True Heart was out just fine. They do lose Revenge, which is annoying, but not too bad. They lose Bash, which is annoying, but could be replaced. Possibly Control Warrior still is a thing. They'll need some cards, though. And they'll also need the meta to change, because if it's still Jadestone, Control Warrior is absolutely destroyed. Needless to say, the weird Ginny Priest combo deck with Potion of Madness is gone because Ginny is rotating out. Beast Druid loses a few things here and there, but ungoro is expected to have a bunch of good beasts. Perhaps it's finally the time for Beast Druid. Alright, any other final things to mention? Aggro Shaman, I thought that already died. I guess there are ways to play Aggro Shaman still. If Aggro Shaman wasn't already dead, they're losing Tunnel Trug and they're losing Totem Golem. So that's going to be a huge hit for them. In addition, of course, to their Small Time Buccaneer and their Spirit Claws nerfs. So praise Aggro Shaman, it's finally gone, but in its place, Aggro Warrior, Pirate Warrior, are. It's worth mentioning that when those 3 sets, League of Explorers, Grand Tournament, and Black Rock Mountain, rotated out, Whispers of the Old Gods are still there. And one of the major themes of Whispers of the Old Gods were the Old Gods. We haven't seen N'Zoth and Cthulhu in a while. So, Cthulhu, mainly a card that saw play with the set itself, with fewer options out there. Perhaps we'll see Cthulhu make a comeback. I personally don't think so, though, because a Cthulhu deck and a Jade deck are very similar in the sense that they're building up stuff. However, I think Cthulhu's buildup gets outclassed by the Jade buildup. So therefore, Jade does it better, so you should run Jade over Cthulhu. In terms of N'Zoth, it's almost kind of a similar thing. N'Zoth has a big payoff at the end, and with Amara revealed from the priest quest, that could work. However, again, I think that Jade might outclass it, and might outclass Control Priest in general. Control decks tend to have a problem with Jade decks. So, my concern is, with all this review of what decks are going to stay, what decks are going to go, and what has potential, it seems like Pirate Warriors and Jade Shaman and Jade Druid are three of the decks that aren't going to get hit very much by the rotation. I fear that those three decks are going to continue to be the dominant decks in New Standard. We'll see. It's too early to say that that's going to happen because we haven't seen the new cards in the set. It's just an early fear, which I'm no doubt sure that Blizzard is aware of. Will something come up to be able to both deal with the late game dominance of Jade and the early game dominance of Pirate Warrior? Will there be a happy middle deck that smashes the Pirate Warrior enough? Like, we need decks that can deal with both the Jade and with the aggressive version of Pirate Warrior. I don't want there to just be better anti-aggro options, because anti-aggro options will just kill Pirate Warrior and then Jadestone will be everywhere. So we also need good anti-control options. And how do you deal with just very cheap minions in the late game? It's tough to find something that deals with that. But who knows? Maybe maybe Ungoro will surprise me. And yes, aggro traditionally counters Jade. But I think Blizzard has also learned their lesson that people don't really like dying to, hey, look at this, I actually am ready for the expansion. I have Jadestone, Druid Jadestone, Shaman, Pirate Warrior right there. Where was I? Blizzard has probably learned the fear from the player base of having too strong of aggro decks. So what else is going to counter Jade decks? Will there be some kind of secret tech? Will the late game of questing be better than the Jade in the late game? What I fear is that Jades outweigh the quests. Like for Priest Death Rattles already, for example, Amara looks like there's a powerful effect, but my personal internal theory craft already is that a N'Zoth Priest Death Rattle deck is going to lose to Jadestone with the current tools available. Obviously, there's still like 130 cards to still be revealed, but I'm fearful. I also don't think that hand buffing is going to be a thing still, despite other sets rotating out, because Jade is a thing, and Jade seems like a stronger mechanic than hand buffing. So that's the fear. I'm looking forward to Ungoro and seeing what's going to come to offer some solutions against Jade. Off the top of my head, I don't really know what could be good other than like a blatant hate card, which is like set the opponent's Jade counter to 1 or something. Like reset your opponent's Jade counter. That would be quite a hate card right there. Let's brainstorm a little. What else? What other than Jades? What would defeat Jade? Like, let's do a designer brainstorm. Other than aggro, what else can defeat Jade? I guess like cheap hard removal on big stuff, like big game hunter. But that like just gets rolled over and dies to aggro. Cards like Twisting Nether and Light Bomb, kind of. Zoo, possibly. Zoo is a deck that isn't too aggressive and can beat Jade pretty well, actually. Combo decks can beat Jade. They're usually pretty slow to start. So possibly a combo deck gets around, and combo's weakness should be aggro. You could have a secret which does something terrible to the opponent if they have a card that has like above 9 attack or higher come up, like some very techy cards which aim against like ridiculously big minions. Those are all decent ideas. Something that counters battle cries as a secret, perhaps. Yeah. You could also take the hammer approach, which is what I was thinking of. Like, I don't want to do it because it's kind of inelegant, but one thing you could do is... Alright, we reviewed Jade Claws. It's obviously too strong. Similar to Spirit Claws, we're nerfing Jade Claws to 3 mana. Or 2 mana Overload 2. Something like that. Maybe we can, like, buff it to a 3/2 in response. And as for Druid, what Jade card do you even nerf from them? I don't know. You could make Jade Idol 2 mana, I suppose. That's inelegant, but it gets the job done, I think. Oh, Aya Blackfall. This card is disgusting. This card should cost 7 mana. So, my very inelegant, like, solutions. If there isn't a hard counter to Jade out there, since my desire is not to play another 4 months of Jadestone, if there's no like natural counter to Jade, which I would hope there is, and maybe the quests actually do better than Jade. In fact, that's one of the big things. How do you counter late game Jade? Have a even better late game thing. And quests are all built for the late game in theory. So suppose you get a quest reward that's so good that it's even better than Jade. But the problem with that is that deck becomes ridiculous. I don't think you can make a quest be that good in the late game. Like, you would have to say, like, almost win the game, but that's not very healthy either. I'd say the 3 cards to hit if Jade, like, remains super dominant would be Jade Idol, Jade Claws, and Aya Blackpaw. Just go ahead and nerf all those cards by 1. The deck might still work. And then just print a bunch of anti-aggro options. And then we'd have a happy little balance, perhaps. It's like, exactly. What if you have a deck that beats Jade in the late game? Then what beats that? That's crazy, right? That's why the quest can't be that powerful. So anyways, that's just a theory. A Trump theory. Thanks for watching that kind of general theory craft. It gives me a better sense of how to review cards in the that have come out. I'm going to be reviewing the cards that come out of ungoro, assuming a meta of Pirate Warrior, Jades, and Zoo. Is kind of my conclusion. So generally like an aggro deck, and then like insanely you can't beat them in the late game decks, which means I'm going to have to end up reviewing cards such as Awaken the Makers, which is the priest quest, which triggers on death rattles. Currently I'm thinking about rating that card as like a 1 or 2 star. It certainly looks very powerful, but with the current tools we have, You have Shifting Shade. You don't have Museum Curator. You have Mistress of Mixtures. You'd probably run Thanos in that quest. Harvest Golem, maybe. Cairn. Corrupted Healbot, perhaps. Faceless Summoner, maybe. Sylvanas is out of the game. And you run this off for sure. There's not that many death rolls. There are going to be death rolls coming, but it doesn't look like that deck would beat Jade, so therefore I would have to rate Amara poorly. And yes, Loot Hoarder. Anyways, it's important to know the field of what's going to be new standard.